Soul Brothers of Kung Fu was a smash. It played, back then when a movie would play for like 1 week and leave town, it played for like a month. But then continued to play. It just never stopped playing. It was always on the lower half of the feed. You could always plug it in, and I would always find an audience there for it. So and there's a reason. Well, that is, if you grew up watching, if you grew up going to the movie theaters in the 70s and seeing kung fu films, if you were part of the audience that was drawn to those, that movie is a classic. I mean, like, I think the way you guys think of Escape from Alcatraz as a classic, okay? If you're drawn to those type of films, then Soul Brothers of Kung Fu is just as much of a classic, if not more of a classic, than Escape from Alcatraz. I mean, the thing about it is, talking about certain kind of kung fu movies to the uninitiated, it's like, look, I can't talk about Soul Brothers of Kung Fu in the way I would talk about Escape from Alcatraz, or the way I would talk about Daisy Miller, all right, or Rolling Thunder, or Taxi Driver, or something like that. But as a lover of the genre, I love that movie as much as Taxi. I mean, I can honestly say it's actually one of my favorite movies. I'm not saying it's the best movie, but it's one of my favorite movie-going experiences. And when I say movie-going experiences, I'm not talking about remembering back when I saw it. I mean, every fucking time I watch it. By the time I get to the end, I'm so invested in the movie, and I've had such a fantastic time with those guys. And I do feel, because part of the thing about the film is two best friends. There's like the more righteous best friend, and then there's the more morally questionable best friend who falls on hard times. And eventually the bad guy is going to get his grips, going to get his hooks into the friend. And you know that by the very end they're going to end up having a fight they're going to end up having to fight each other. And even though that they love each other. And it rips my heart out every time I see that movie. Now, having said that about Soul Brothers of Kung Fu, there's two different endings. What is the ending that you're familiar with? How does it end? Okay, does it end with Carl Scott dying or not? Yes, the theatrical release. The theatrical, yeah. If you get the print from Harry Guerra, he's got the theatrical release. The video versions has Carl Scott dying. The theatrical release, not only does he not die, it ends in complete triumph with Bruce Lee throwing his arm around Carl Scott to a freeze frame of the Rocky thing. If you watch it on YouTube, you watch the Xenon video release of it, it's the Carl Scott dying in his arms. The theatrical version that we always saw at the theaters, that played in black theaters for like years continuously, it always ended with the Rocky theme in a freeze frame triumph. I think they probably, I think it was probably one of those situations where, okay, for Taiwan we'll do this.
Yeah.
For Hong Kong we'll do this. For mainland we'll do this. For Korea we'll do that. Why not do this? Why not do that? And they probably just, I mean, it's probably just completely fucking random. I like both actors a lot. I love Bruce Lee. I've been a big, Ho Chi Tung, I think is his real name. Bruce Lee, I've been a big fan of his. And Lo Mang, who plays the other character, who fans of the Deadly Venoms, he's the Toad. He's also the kid. He's also in the Shang-Chi film. He's the kid with the golden arm. He's the kid. He's the kid with the golden arm. But most people know him as the Toad from Five Deadly Venoms. And they're fantastic together. And the music lifts from Carrie and Rocky are wonderful in it. I love the 70s. The wardrobes that everyone wears is terrific. In Soul Brothers of Kung Fu, I just can't wait for a new character to show up so I can see what T-shirt he's wearing. but it just works. It has a spirit. It has a storytelling drive. It has a commitment to the personalities of the characters. And one of the things that's interesting about it is I've seen about 12 movies that are just like it. I mean, exactly like it, frankly, to tell you the truth. But they don't have the joie de vivre that has. They don't have the right spirit. They don't have the right sense of humor. They don't have the right funky flair. Their kung fu fighting isn't quite as good. It's not quite as connected to emotion the way that is. It's just, you have 12 hamburgers and they all make the hamburgers the same way, but this one spot makes the hamburger just really great, even though it doesn't seem like it does anything different from the other 11 hamburger places. But sometimes when you could choose the whole world to go out and eat, you want to go to that hamburger place. And I'm not trying to put the film down in that, and I'm not putting it down. I'm not trying to call it a hamburger, but a genre film that is part of a vast quantity of genre films that are similar. That one that stands out, I think that's special. I think that's a real special thing. But you also got to put it into a proper perspective, because the year that the Kung Fu craze was huge was the tail end of 72, most of 73, and a little bit going into 74. But then the mainstream audience was done and moved on. However, the film still did really well in black neighborhoods and in black theaters. So it was black audiences that actually kept the genre alive. The rest of the audiences had mainstream audience had moved on to other things. I guess, they moved on to Jaws ripoffs. They moved on to Alien ripoffs, and Star Wars, and stuff like that. But it was urban audiences that kept the genre alive, and so there was this kind of a slight pandering to urban audiences for with Kung Fu movies. And so the new Kung Fu movies coming out, they didn't play in all the theaters the way they did in 73. They didn't play at all the mall theaters, but they did play, they'd have, 10, 15 to 20 engagements around Los Angeles, usually around the Compton, Inglewood, Carson, Wilmington, those kind of areas. And before the emergence of Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee was absolutely the star. I mean, a good 6 out of every 10 martial art movies that actually saw a Los Angeles theatrical release. And when I say a theatrical release, I don't mean they just was playing in the lower half of a double feature, but I mean like a paid ad in the Los Angeles Times, backed by a review. It was usually a Bruce Lee movie. And along with a couple of his Bruce Lee kind of films, his most popular one was this one called Bruce Lee, the Man, the Myth. But then also there was also X of the Dragon, Air of the Tiger, which was very popular. Well, it might be my favorite of the. It might, at the end of the day, be my favorite of the modern ones too. I mean, it's one of those movies where it's like Soul Brothers Kung Fu. I mean, other than the fact that I really love Bruce Lee in that film. And I love Lo Mang in the film, and they're fantastic together. And my heart goes out to Lo Mang's character. I mean, I think it does have that feeling like I get when I watch a Switchblade Sisters, where I actually like both girls, and you know they're going to end up fighting each other. It's heart-wrenching knowing that you're heading towards there because you actually care about them. But having said that, every time I watch it, I'm really caught up emotionally at the end. And I'm a bit at a loss of why I get so emotionally caught up with this crazy ass movie. There's a few movies that get that, and it's I don't know if I even got it across in the review, but it's like, I feel a little bit that way in my review for The Mothers. I feel when I watch the movie The Mothers, I get emotionally caught up in those girls. And it means something to me by the time it gets to the end of the movie. And I think I do a pretty good job of describing why. But there's an XY element that I can't put my finger on, that it just works for me, that I can't describe.